What's up, guys? Welcome to Bipolar Boxing. Let's do a breakdown for Raymond Muratalla defending his IBF 135-pound title against Alan Cruz. Um, this is a tough one to pick. This is another one of those coin flip fights. With me, it's just going to be a kind of a preference thing. I love both of these fighters. Um, like a couple of videos ago, I put out just like my special guys that I had at 135. And I was just like, the way I bet, I'm just like, I'm not going to, if I have one of those guys in those groups, I'm not going to bet against them until they face another one of those guys in the group. Like Alan Cruz, Raymond Muratalla, Shakur Stevenson was there. If Devin Haney was back down there, he'd be there. Tank Davis, Keyshawn Davis. Until these fighters fight each other, I won't start betting against them. These two guys I had both in my list, so I got to start picking against them, and it's very difficult to do. Muratalla, I've been watching his whole career. I love Robert Garcia. He's my favorite trainer. I'm not saying he's the best trainer in the world, but he is my favorite trainer. I've been following him since his fighting days, back watching him on Friday Night Fights, and then he became a trainer at a young age. I watched him train. Geez, who the hell was it? Brandon Vera, I think his name was. But yeah, it's just I love his style. The one thing that I've always my knock on Robert Garcia is his fighters are not very defensively sound. They are great on offense. Great offensive fighter. He's almost like kind of like Freddie Roach in that aspect. Great offensive fighters. But when they get in there with a guy who can move and is intelligent and has enough pop to keep those boxers off, his fighters usually lose. And this is just a fight where I haven't seen much of Alan Cruz because he's only had 6 fights. He looks great. He had that one hiccup where he got, I can't remember if it was Moran or whoever, but one guy, he had him hurt in the fight, and for a round or two, Cruz had to kind of get his wits about him. So there was a little bit like, man, you only got 6 fights. These fights aren't that difficult, even though he's been fighting better competition than anybody else with 6 fights. But with a guy with that much of an amateur pedigree, he shouldn't be struggling at all with anybody in those first 6 fights. And he did have one little hiccup, but and Muratalla has just looked great over his whole career, and he's fought a lot better competition than Alan Cruz. And the one fighter that he kind of had a little bit of trouble with was Tevin Farmer, who's just a mover with no power. And Tevin Farmer to me is a true like 130 pound. I don't think he should be at 135, and he wasn't a big puncher at 130. So he's a mover, but he didn't have enough pop to keep uh Muratalla off of him. Um, Alan Cruz I see as a lot better not a lot, but he's a better version of Kevin Farmer, and he does got some pop and he can put punches together. And I just see Muratalla, he's going to be coming forward the whole fight. Cruz will probably fight on his back foot a little bit, especially for the first couple of rounds. But once this fight starts to get going, I just think Muratalla is going to be very frustrated because he's going to be coming forward with all that. He knows he's got power. I don't think he's going to be able to land a clean shot that'll put Cruz out. I think that's his path to victory. I don't see him beating Cruz over 10 rounds unless he just completely mauls Cruz and he does have enough power. And then Cruz gets frustrated because his plan was fighting off the back foot, outboxing this guy, being a slick boxer, using lateral movement, getting out of the way, standing toe to toe when he chooses to, picks his punches, and maybe takes one to land like 2 or 3 and get the hell out of there. Um, it's just like I say, it's a very tough fight. But my preference in this fight is, and I've been doing this ever since my favorite boxer growing up was, well, my favorite boxer of all time is Johnny Tapia. But my second favorite fighter growing up was Diego Corrales. And when he was coming up and when he fought Floyd Mayweather, I hated Floyd Mayweather. And I love Floyd Mayweather now. But as a kid, I hated Floyd Mayweather. I liked the bangers. I didn't like guys who danced around. But the older I got, I realized like that's a big part of the sport is hitting and not getting hit. And Floyd was the best at that. And Floyd knocked Diego Corrales down like 7 times, and then they had to stop the fight, and he just demolished them. And after that fight, I was so confident that Diego Corrales was just going to go knock this guy out, and it proved that there's levels to this, and you got to have a complete game set. And ever since then, I've kind of just been going with in these uh boxer versus puncher matchups when they're this close. I just choose to go for the guy who can get to 7 rounds first. And I think that's Alan Cruz in this fight. I think Alan Cruz will, be on the back foot a lot, but he's going to be slick enough to not get hit with a powerful shot. Even if he, gets mauled a little bit, he'll probably do a little bit of holding and reset, and then just get his timing down. And once he does, I think it's going to be a frustrating night for Muratalla. Muratalla's going to give it his all, and Robert Garcia could make some in-fight adjustments in this fight. I just don't think it's going to be enough. And I think Alan Cruz is going to win this fight by decision. I think he's going to win it 8-4, maybe 9-3 or something like that. I think it could end up being pretty wide. Muratalla might take some of the early rounds, but once this thing gets later and all that amateur experience kicks in, and he's going to be like, I've seen this style a million times. Not to say that those fighters were better than Raymond Muratalla, but he's seen this style. I know he's only got 6 fights, but Alan Cruz, I just see as more of a special fighter than Raymond Muratalla. He's got more tools in his tool bag. Um, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just, like I said, in these fights, I just usually go with the boxer because I keep saying like knockouts don't happen a lot in these world championship fights. You have all these knockouts on your resume, and then all of a sudden, when you step up and fight one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the division, knockouts don't come. And I don't see Muratalla being able to win 7 rounds in this fight or 6 rounds in a knockdown. I just don't see it. So I gotta go with Alan Cruz for this fight. I love guys that have a very long amateur pedigree, and he hasn't been fighting the best fighters, but I just like the way he's looked. And I mean, I just think he's just gonna outscore. It's gonna be like a fucking amateur fight where one guy's coming forward, but the other guy's way more slick. And this isn't amateur scoring either, where they score on that point system. Like this is boxing. There's a certain criteria, and Alan Cruz is going to win a lot of those, especially clean punching, in my opinion. Muratalla volume might be better when the punch stats come out, which I don't pay any attention to punch stats at all. But when the punch stats come out, I'm sure Muratalla will probably have landed more shots. But they're going to be landing on the arms and stuff, and I just think he's going to be frustrated in there all night. And just give me Alan Cruz to win a like I said, a fairly wide decision. Um, I hate picking against Muratalla. I was at one of his fights late in 2024. I forgot who he fought, Ocampo or somebody like that. But he looked very good in that fight, and he knocked the guy out in 2 rounds. But these guys that he's fighting are nothing like Alan Cruz. Now, Alan Cruz hasn't faced anybody like Raymond Muratalla in his professional career, but I can guarantee you, in the amateurs, he's seen plenty of guys that fight like Raymond Muratalla. And Raymond Muratalla's got that dog in him. He's gonna keep coming forward, but I just think he only knows one way to fight, and it's not going to be enough to outpoint a guy like Alan Cruz. So in a fight where I don't see any knockdowns happening, I don't see a knockout, I just tend to go with the better boxer. So let me know what you guys think. I'll try to do some videos on. It's not much of an undercard here, but I'll do one for maybe like the Cleo Cole, Jesse Hart fight. That's a decent fight right there. Um, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let me know who you guys think the winner of this fight should fight. I mean, the 135-pound class, it was so fucking good a couple years ago with when you had Shakur and Haney and Tiafimo was even floating around down there. Lomachenko was somewhat active, and then you had all these guys coming up. Like I didn't even mention like a guy like Abdullah Mason. Um, Carmel Mouton, I think, is in that division, and he's up and coming. I'll probably be going to his next fight. It's 10 minutes down the road from my house. He signed with Pacquiao Promotions. He's another guy that's coming up. 135 is an awesome weight class. You had Keyshawn Davis down there. Now it's kind of just weird where all those top guys are leaving. If Shakur decides after the Tiafimo fight to stay at 140, we lost a lot from that division, losing him, Haney, and Tank Davis pretty much. And there's an opening now. There's an opening for a guy like Alan Cruz, and I think if Alan Cruz looks good enough in this fight, we might be calling him the best 135 pounder in the world, and he's only going to have 7 fights. It's weird, but we've seen this before with a guy like Lomachenko who just he came up and he was thrown to the wolves early. He had that one shit fight with Salido where he lost early on in his career, but it's just it's still a good division, and I would love to see Alan Cruz versus Abdullah Mason in like a year or two because I think Abdullah Mason's that good. He could be the best 135 pounder out there right now. I'll say that, even as young as he is. But yeah. Let me know who you guys think's gonna win, and let me know who you guys think the winner of this should face next. Have a good night, guys.